All right, folks, this is not a ride-sharing video. What up, folks? Once again, it is your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Now, many of you have already seen the video that has been literally all over the news, leading a lot of folks to ask the simple question: how many times can you show a man getting killed before we need to literally fear becoming desensitized to this? I mean, obviously, we're going to be talking about what took place in Memphis, Tennessee, but I just wanted to do an impromptu live to ask the obvious question. Will what happened in Memphis, Tennessee, will what happened in that metropolitan area lead to any form of change? Will it spark change at all? That's what we're going to try to address with the folks. Make no mistake about it, I say this on every broadcast. This is a MAGA-friendly program. Liberals are welcome as well. We always encourage civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle. So feel free to tap the screen, show your boy some love, get your boy up to 5,000 likes. But what do you think? Do you think this will encourage any form of change? Because what is this, probably the 100th video we've seen of police officers going above and beyond. And I want to say something that is probably going to be considered controversial, particularly for a minority and African American like myself to say. Simply put, it is not a good idea. And I'm not defending the police or what do they say, blaming the victim in any way, form, or shape. But it is not a good idea to run from police. I don't care if you are trying to hide something. I don't care if you are frightened, or I don't care if you just have to get home and take a piss. Running from police is not safe. And it doesn't matter if you are 100% innocent. Let me make that clear. Running from police is not safe. Until something changes, we need to stop automatically assuming that police have a set of rules because they are sworn officers protecting a law, that they're going to follow the law when it comes to arresting you. If you run from police, obviously, if you're in a situation where you're breaking a law, assuming that the police, when they try to arrest you, are going to follow the law could be a fatal mistake. So I want to just simply give my spiel on that. And like I said, I know some folks will view that as victim blaming or even defending the cops. And I assure you that is by no means what I'm trying to do. But unfortunately, a lot of these situations do seem to revolve around someone, literally not complying, fighting back with the cops or something of that nature. Now, there are areas of the Constitution that allow you to fight back with the cops, such as verbally. You have First Amendment free speech rights, and I say it on my program all the time. I protect your free speech rights here as much as I can. But at the same time, a lot of police officers do not like a dissenting opinion. They do not like pushback, such as, I don't want you to search my car without a warrant. Some officers would not tolerate that. So unfortunately, we have some officers who do not like pushback of any sort. But until something changes, we want, at least it's coming from yours truly, your humble correspondent, I cannot say this any stronger. It is not safe to run from police, nor advisable. But we're going to go straight to the box. Appreciate you folks tuning in on this lovely Saturday evening. We'll start it out with Travis Bluntman. They got you first on deck. And good afternoon, Rainey. I see you in there. Travis, do you think there's any chance this might spark some form of a change in Memphis, Tennessee, if not the nation?
Unfortunately, no, because it should. I'll say that.
Yeah.
But I don't think it will, because we're a little bit too lazy, right?
Shit.
It's like, well, yeah, I'm upset about this thing right now, but I got to go to work, or I got to go do this, or the next controversy will come up.
Yeah.
So.
Well, but in regards to you saying that people are often too busy to pay attention, in my opinion, and I know I get hammered on this all the time, even though I'm not for blocking off traffic, rioting and looting, setting places on fire. if you protest or you speak up in a way that allows people to ignore it, that's generally what they will do, which is why, if you notice, the moment Black Lives Matter get involved with things, there is often change because they do not protest in a manner that allows what you just said. People just go back to work. They block you from getting to work, or they tear down your whole damn business. So even though I'm not defending it, you get where I'm saying, where that sometimes is an effective manner of protesting.
I mean, I'm not going to 100% disagree with you there, but I haven't seen any acts passed by Congress because of BLM movements, but I do know that the Civil Rights Act was passed because of Dr. King. So, I mean, the thing is, yeah, it gets poisoned when you have an actual legitimate right, and it gets poisoned by people that go past their First Amendment rights. You know, I guess the reason I threw in the request is because when you started talking about holding court on the streets, we were talking before, you know me under other names, and you know, I've always held the opinion that you don't hold court on the street.
Absolutely.
And you know, because there's been a lot of cases out there where it's like, well, what did you expect?
Yeah.
Right. But I've also held that's a two-way street. The cops don't get to hold court on the street either. Now, yes, if you resist an officer, you're probably not going to go to jail unscathed. But there's a point where, and each case needs its own, you know, exact circumstances. We're not talking about one dainty cop that had to resort to something fatal to protect their own life. You got him right behind you, and I saw the video last night.
In this case, not only did they charge 5, but apparently there were 8 police officers there. And I never can understand when we have these things, why folks who are standing around watching it, who have taken an oath to serve and protect, or get away without doing anything about the person that's getting beat up. Even like in the Rodney King case from years ago, only 4 officers got charged, but there was a host of other police sitting by watching that.
Right. And I'm not disagreeing with you there, but I think that's an even more extenuating circumstance. What I'm talking about is you've got 5 dudes, all of them look over 200 pounds.
Yeah.
They can handle themselves. There's a point where, and you see, here's the thing that don't get me wrong, I've changed my opinion. You know, I'm not going to use the word woke because that's been hijacked. I've become aware of the disparities and the discrepancies and everything like that. Okay. And what I'm going to say is that when you've got, there's a point where if you don't want me to resist, I have to know once I'm in your custody, I'm in the relative safety. Okay, jail's not a safe place and all that. I guess I get all that. What I'm saying is I shouldn't face any further injury from you once I'm in your custody.
Yeah, but how can police ever assure suspects or detainees that they're going to be safe in their custody? I mean, there's going to be people who do not trust police no matter what they do.
Right. I'm not saying you're going to be safe from other prisoners, but I'm saying once those cuffs go on, I need to know that I'm not going to bleed anymore from you.
Yeah.
You know? And so I'm understanding more and more why people run. Okay? Because before it was, I'm just running because I don't want to go to jail.
Right.
Now, and the cops are saying he's on something, right?
Right.
Maybe he was on something and he gave more than one of them a run for their money. I don't care what you're on. You ain't giving those 5 dudes a run for their money.
Yeah, that is an issue. Why 5 guys had such a difficult time detaining one man. And in my opinion, based on what I seen in the video, it appears as though they had a difficult time detaining him because they were not interested in detaining him. Very similar to with Rodney King. There's nobody trying to handcuff the guy. They're trying to whip his ass. So, of course, he's going to continue struggling if the only thing you're trying to do is hurt him.
Right. And again, that's why we have to make the distinction versus like one officer by themselves. It's like, bro, I'm in the fight of my life. And it was me or him. You got 5 dudes there, man. Like, there's a point where you're like, hey, if you're not capable of taking this dude into custody without killing him, something's wrong. Yeah. Something's really wrong.
So let's before I move it on, Travis, you're judge and jury. You're sentencing. What type of a sentence you would suggest for these 5 men, assuming that they're all equally guilty?
Right. so that takes me off the tangent. The video wasn't real clear on exactly who all was involved. A cop that is there, I'm going to have a different opinion of.
Fair enough.
It looked like there was about 3 or 4 that were really doing the beating.
Yeah.
That what I can see, but again, the video is pretty grainy and stuff. No, that's murder.
Well, but think about it though. You could use the same description. You could use the same description for George Floyd's case, where different cops had different roles. But make no mistake about it, like in the George Floyd case, Derek Chauvin could not have done what he did alone. It was the other cops sitting on his back, holding back the other, folks who are watching this that were really pissed off. So you need participation. So even though you're saying it was 3 cops that really beat his ass, I mean, the other cops, you get what I'm saying?
So if you just think of it, what charge will they give some gang members, right?
Right.
Now, we all know, if 2 dudes go to a gas station and rob it, and there ends up being a homicide, they're all getting charged with a homicide, so you can fall into that category too, where you can be slightly less, a little bit more lenient and go, okay, you were an accessory to murder, so you got 5 years.
Okay.
10 years.
Most egregious.
This dude's got life. The 2 dudes who were holding him up in the full Nelson while the other dude came and jacked him in the face, all three of those dudes are looking at life.
Yeah.
And then the dude who was standing there and didn't say, hey, you are now committing a crime and I'm going to stop you. You're an accessory, so you got 5.
Yeah. Crazy. Oddly enough, I got to move it on, but oddly enough, they didn't even give Derek Chauvin in George Floyd's case life. I think they gave him 20 years, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that one's kind of a coin flip, really, because, again, the dude's got cuffs on, right? So he's in your custody, he's in your safety, right? And I guess they're going on that intent. Did I really know I was going to kill him by leaning on his chest?
9 minutes? You question whether you 9 minutes? Wait. You're on the body of a handcuffed man face down for 9 minutes, and you wonder, could I actually hurt this guy? 9 minutes?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm not defending him by any means.
Okay.
That's the difference between 20 years and life, is they can kind of play that legal lingo of intents and all that stuff. When you got, all of these dudes are at least 200 pounds, right?
Right.
They're big dudes. And when you got 2 dudes holding dudes straight up, and then the other dude come in with a freaking Evander Holyfield haymaker.
Yeah.
The intent's a lot different than leaning on someone's chest. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Fair enough. All right, I got to move it on, Travis.
If you don't mind me making one last point.
Real quick. Wrap it up. Go ahead.
The other part where he's handcuffed leaning against the car for the next 10 plus minutes. That right there.
Yeah.
Starts bringing criminal charges.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah. Why is he not on a gurney on his way? So
fair enough.
On, man.
Always a pleasure. Come on back through anytime. Okay, and what he just stated, I don't know why I didn't bring it up earlier in our conversation. Probably some of the most heartening parts of watching in that regards to that video is seeing a man sit there with no attention at all being given to him for that significant period of time. I think on CNN they said it was almost a half hour. Really? Where the guy's slumping over, they're picking him back up and doing nothing to aid him. And even up to and including, I believe they actually held the paramedics accountable as well. I don't understand how anyone could sit there that long while the officers are just stirring around, having a conversation around the guy. I mean, it's not like this is a homicide. Well, it actually was a homicide scene, but there's no reason for the police officers to linger in that environment for that period of time. Take the guy away, even if he's completely healthy and alert. Why is he sitting there that long? So, because even sitting there as a fully healthy, alert guy with your hands behind your back for that period of time is going to be hellified uncomfortable. Might cut off circulation and other things. So, I just don't understand that. That was hard to watch in itself. All right, going back to the box. I see the Blue Lives Matter folks are in the comments. We'll talk about it later. Rainey Kane. Good afternoon, Rainey. Welcome back to the program. This was a message to someone. Hooper Cooper in the comments said, do you think there's any chance, Rainey, and good afternoon, that this was a message to someone?
A message?
That's what, I'm reading the comments. Listen, it could be a crazy comment, but someone in the comments said this is a message to someone.
Yeah, I don't know what that comment means, so
Neither do I.
can't speak on it. I don't know what that means.
Yeah. So
I came in because you.
go ahead.
No, I came in because you asked a really good question to the last caller. How much time should these guys get? I'm conflicted. If I were on a jury, I wouldn't be even pushing for life. And I say that because Derek Chauvin didn't get life. And I feel like then we need to start right-sizing these sentences somehow. That would be my thoughts just on.
So in regards to that, real quick, I want to ask you before we move on. Which did you see when viewing both of those incidents? Which one do you see looks more egregious, looks more horrible? George Floyd rather, or what happened to Tyree in Memphis?
Honestly, I think it was George Floyd.
I do too. Yeah, I do too.
This is me personally. Host, I watched that live. Like, that was the first murder I've ever seen in my life. I watched it literally live. We were all at home in 2020, right? I mean, at least I was. I was watching that on a Facebook Live, and for me, I could remember my emotions and like screaming at the phone, tell them to jump off, go push him off. This guy, he's gonna kill him. You know, so
well, but in regards to
the Derek Chauvin thing is worse.
Yeah, but in regards to yelling at the screen, you know, that you need to get off of this guy's back. Can you imagine doing the same thing when this guy is sitting there up against the car and folks are yelling, "Go get the man some help"? I mean, he's just sitting there for a half hour with his hands behind his back, slumping over.
Sure, and I say this, and this is where my logical brain is, since I've been watching some of these cases lately. He died. This guy died 3 days later, right? I mean, let's just keep it real. They didn't kill him on the scene. He died as a result of his injuries. Yes, that's a fact. He did. That is a fact. So I'm not taking that away from it. But again, I'm probably more on the fence of, well, wait a minute. This is just going to be another. Black people get sentenced harsher than white people, and I'm just like, nah, man. I don't know. I feel I'm conflicted. It's a hard case for me to ask. I mean, for every question though. Let
me ask you this. In regards to the fact that the criminal officers, and they certainly are criminals in my opinion, the officers are black, the police department is black, and it appears as if justice was swift. Do you think the fact that it was a black police department with a black police chief that may have had anything to do with the fact that these officers face murder charges a hell of a lot sooner than most do?
Well, that goes to your original question. Do you think we'll see change? I think because they didn't want no more cities burning down, they made change, and they freaking acted fast. Yeah. The police chief, she should be commended. Like, she immediately was like, I think I did the timeline. He was quote unquote engaged on the 7th of July,
right?
On the 7th of January. By the 10th he died. By the 5th they had fired. By the 13th they fired the police. By the 15th, so 2 days later, you know, I mean, it's just like I feel like it's one of those things where it's like this was the fastest pursuit of justice.
But think about what you just said. Based on what you were saying. Rioting and looting has results. As you said, they're afraid of their town being burnt down. So they actually brought these criminals to justice quicker out of fear of what Black Lives Matter might do.
And that could be true.
Yeah.
And not to say, I'm sorry, and let me just say this is going to sound terrible to the men on this line, but a black woman was the chief of police, and she knew it was wrong. Wrong is wrong. I think the men that are in leadership in the police team, they try to protect instead of choosing what's right. And she was like, no, man, you embarrassed me and our division, and, you know, she probably going to get hammed up in this. Just let's keep it real. She is going to get hammed up.
Why was she, though? Why would she get hammed up? What has she done that is worthy of, I mean, we should be applauding her.
Think about that. If that incident got called in and no supervisor showed up on the scene, there was literally no supervisors that showed up on the scene. And I saw her, she actually answered this question. I think she put her foot in her mouth because she said she was with her deputy in the police department, and they were changing the camera. So, you know, the camera that's on the pole.
Right.
They changed the camera so that they could look and see what was going on. They were changing the camera, right? So they watched it. That's what I.
Oh, wow.
Why were there saying nobody out there?
Wow. So, yeah, and thank God that there was a camera there, because what I seen on the body cams, because they showed, I'm watching it on CNN, and I think I had it simulcast on Fox, and I was surprised Fox would even cover this, but I'm watching it, and the first thing I'm thinking when I see those first 3 body cams is, these dudes are going to get off. Until I saw that actual camera on that pole from above, I'm thinking this is nowhere near as bad as they're making it sound. But when you actually can see the entire event from above, then you realize, because when you're watching the body cams, a lot of it is, the camera's covered, it's moving around like a bad episode of Cops. You can hear the language, which is violent, but you can't actually see it. But then when you watch it from above, it's like, yeah, they really, really hurt that man. So, shout out to the.
I also wanted to say too, if you listen to what they were saying, they were already setting up their alibi. When they were saying, oh, he was reaching for my gun. Oh, he was reaching for my gun. Oh, he souped up on some drugs. Like, no, y'all sprayed him in the face with mace. Right. Your natural reaction is to fucking cover your eyes or try to protect your eyes in some case, right? And so it's the whole thing is funky as far as I'm concerned. But like I said, if I were on a jury, they wouldn't be getting life. And I say that just because I'm really proud of the system. This has been the fastest justice. You and I are the same age. Can you think of any other police encounter that came this particular fast in this pursuit of justice?
Well, there is one, but it's not going to sound very good. There was a Somali officer in the Minneapolis area that wrongfully shot a Australian woman that was visiting America. So it was a black cop shooting a white woman. He got thrown in prison pretty damn. Yeah, they brought justice to his ass pretty quickly, and that was a couple years or so ago. So I would say that one was faster, but damn, it sucks that the ethnicities were reversed. Before I let you go, I want to ask you one other question, because I brought this up in my opening statement that until something changes, folks, particularly minorities, need to understand that running from police, whether you are trying to hide some dope, whether you're 100% innocent or for whatever reason at all, is a very dangerous thing to do, and it is unadvisable. Am I wrong for saying that?
No, you're absolutely right, because we see the consequence.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if things were going to change, then cops need to stop taking it personal. And I think that's what they all took. Him running was that was personal to them. They all took it like, oh, well, you gotta die, or I gotta beat your ass, because you ran. And that's psychologically crazy. Like, what? This is not personal, brother. You know where he lives.
Yeah, and you could hear them. Yeah, you could even hear one of the officers saying, I hope they stomp his ass out. But Rainey, I appreciate you coming through, as always.
Keep going, darling.
Absolutely. Good talk. All right, moving on. And real quick, for you folks on YouTube watching this, unfortunately, they're not showing. I see some of you folks are showing your boys some love. A lot of this is my ride-sharing audience, but appreciate you folks tuning in. I'm trying not to simulcast, but the actual show is on TikTok under the Handsome Liberal. So for you YouTubers wondering. All right, in regards to what we have seen, let me, in fact, on my screen, a lot of folks on social media, you see behind me on the screen, I often say, as opposed to showing us your best, sometimes show your picture without the filter. So we're going to go ahead and show these folks in their natural state. All right, going back to the comments. So you saying they beat him because he ran, but first they pulled him out the car and was beating him. Latanya Cromwell, let me make it clear. I am not by any means at all trying to blame the victim in this case. In none of these cases, even Jalen Walker, who I thought was a justifiable shooting, folks went crazy against me for saying that, but I'm just simply making a point. Running from police is dangerous. That's all I'm trying to make. When they yanked this guy out of the car, if he had laid down and put his hands behind his back, I mean, are we to believe he would have still had the same outcome? I'm just asking that question because I strongly believe, and I've said this in many other broadcasts, that until something changes, you need to treat a police officer The same way if you're in a bank trying to cash a check, or if you're in a liquor store trying to pick up some smokes, and somebody walks in and says, this is a robbery, get your ass on the ground. You need to treat police officers just like that. Understand they have a gun, and if they're telling you to do something, just like a bank robber, they may kill you, whether you deserve to be killed or not. Folks, the problem we're making nowadays is we look at police officers, even though they have a gun, even though they're yelling instructions at you, that because they're sworn officers, they're not going to shoot. If I run, they have to chase me down. If I take a swing at them, they have to mace me or use non-lethal. No, you treat them just like you would treat a damn bank robber. You know that if you do anything, his first response may be to shoot you. This is not putting police officers in a good light at all. And I'm doing that because the damn videos you see do not put them in a good light. So understand, first and foremost, the man has a gun, and if you do not listen, his first response may be to shoot you, right or wrong. Looking in the comments, he was calm and they warned from the start. I'm just simply telling you, you're talking about the case specifically. I'm just simply saying, if you run from police even out of fear, they may kill you. I hate to say it that way. All right, going back to the box. Folks are moving it around. Vicky Martin, good afternoon. The guy was no longer a threat and they continue to be. The whole situation is awful. Good afternoon, good evening, Vicky.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
I just wanted to weigh in on this whole situation. I talked to an activist earlier. We were on live. My whole thing about this, I've watched the video several times over and over again, and I truly believe that anybody and everybody that was there, because EMS did not even offer any kind of help to this young man. I believe if they would have done their job, they might have could have saved his life.
Yeah, because he was moving. Yeah, he was moving. Yeah, he was moving quite a bit on the ground. But I believe they've held EMS accountable as well, haven't they?
Exactly, I agree, and I think that anybody that is standing there and they're a witness to something like this, as horrific and brutal to this young man, they should have offered, their help. But they refused to. They didn't. It's almost like it was a stage, a whole setup to watch this young man die. And I'm going to be honest with you. This supervisor over these officers, okay, or whatever she is, sergeant.
Yeah.
She should have done something a long time ago, because now there are so many people coming out of the woodworks about this particular group that they've been stopped.
The Scorpion, the Scorpion. Yeah, they call themselves. It's crazy we allow folks to have these wild ass. I mean, what is a Scorpion known for? Stinging the shit out of people. I mean, what do we think is going to happen when you give them these? That's not like, the Peacemakers or something like that. Their name sounds violent.
Well, that's like last night. I had a question, because I saw, when I looked at the video, I'm like, wait, there is more than 5 here. There is more than 5. Why aren't these other ones being charged? What I got in an answer in response to that was, oh, we don't care about that. We require these 5 to be charged because it's a color. It's the same color. Okay, well, to me, color doesn't matter. Everybody's my brothers and sisters.
Right.
That's the way I was raised. That's the way it's going to be. And when he answered me like that and got defensive about it, so wait a minute, I'm not saying anything bad. I'm asking a question. There is more people here that needs to be charged than just 5.
Yeah.
Get defensive about it.
There is so many of these videos we watch where what you're talking about is a genuine issue, where there are officers standing around. And also, you have to wonder, because they all have, they pull out their notepads and they have to fill out paperwork for what happened at the scene. They need to step up the violation for lying on the paperwork, because if you're watching another cop beat somebody's ass, what you put down on your paperwork obviously did not include that. So they need to, because like when Rodney King was getting beaten, it was 4 officers charged, but there are officers all around that scene. Like, what is on their paperwork? What did they say they saw when they were at that scene? So I do agree with you. They need the amount of folks being charged should expand to everybody who is witnessing that and not intervening.
Not only that, we were talking about the cameras up above. Okay, yeah, there's cameras at every angle that shows every bit of footage. Okay, so this boss of the Five Tops, she knew all along because she saw those videos.
Yeah.
She can see more on those videos than you can on their cam on their jackets. So she knew all along, hey, I need to do something. I need to fire these guys, and they're going to be charged, and I need to do something fast because this could bring her in the mix of it.
Yeah.
She could even be charged because if it goes back, if internal affairs gets involved, I've worked around law enforcement before, and if internal affairs gets involved, this woman here can be held accountable. They can say, hey, we've been watching you all this time. We went back and looked at your records. If people don't realize these officers are out to get their quota, and I think that they have been watching this young man for a certain amount of time, and they've kindly figured out how to get him this time around.
So you believe this was personal?
I think this was personal.
Wow.
I think this was a personal situation to where they have been watching him for so long, because the first cop, from what I understand in the video, I saw one of the officers get out of his car in a hoodie.
I have not seen that.
Yes, it is on the video. If you go and watch all of the video of their camp, you can see this guy gets out and he has a hoodie on.
Wow. And I see quite a few folks in the comments also seem to agree with you in suggesting that they view it as something possibly personal as well. I didn't think of that. I didn't think of that angle.
Yeah, but see, and that's what I'm getting at. Why would an officer of the law get out of a car that is unmarked and has a hoodie on? Why? What would be his motive to do something like that when he should be in uniform? He should present his badge and show him, look, I'm an officer of the law. I really believe that this young man was running for his life because he knew that he was, this was fixing to happen. There's more to this than what any video could ever show.
Wow, I really hope it doesn't, because that certainly excludes the statement I just made about it's not safe to run from police. But if there is no hope for you anyway, then hell yeah, asses to elbows, as they say. So I didn't see it that way. But what you're saying,
yards away from his house, he's not far from his house when this took place. And my heart goes out to his parents because his mother, it breaks my heart to see her go through this. But she said in one of her videos that she told her husband, I feel pain in my stomach. And all along she was feeling the pain that her son was taken from these people. And that's what makes it bad. And I know what it is to lose a child, but not this way. But I'm going to tell you right now, I hope and pray that justice rains down on everyone that was standing on that corner. Everyone, because they deserve what they get.
I think what you're saying is going to be a common viewpoint from just about everybody that watched it. But Vicky, I got to move it on. Appreciate you coming through. Good talk.
I appreciate it. I just wanted to rein in there, and I am following you, so I will see you later.
Hey, you're always welcome back. Come on back through anytime. Okay, looking in the comments, sorry about cut. I think I may have cut her off in the last couple seconds there, but I do appreciate her coming through. Real quick, totally off the topic, because we generally talk about left and right politics here, and I say it on every broadcast. It's a MAGA-friendly zone, and MAGA are my preferred guest, and liberals are welcome. That's the spiel I give, but I happen to have CNN on the television behind, and I just noticed that Nikki Haley, or better yet, President Trump is stating that Nikki Haley has advised him she is considering running for president. So I expect us to probably be talking about that in a future show. I would love to see how Trump goes in on Nikki Haley. Obviously, Trump does not have a problem but verbally attacking women, certainly in politics. Okay, moving back to the actual topic. Chief of Police is going down, says VG Smokes. You're the third person now that is suggesting that although these cops face what appears to be a swift justice, that maybe it wasn't swift enough, and maybe the chief herself is kind of culpable to some degree. Like the last caller just stated, she had access to the overhead camera and waited for a period of time before doing anything. By way of yes or no in the comments, yes or no, how many of you folks believe that these cops face swift justice simply because the town of Memphis was afraid of being set alight? How many of you believe that, by way of yes or no, that they decided to go after these guys because they knew that Black Lives Matter was going to go after that ass? I just want to bring that up. I hate to defend or even appear as if I'm supporting rioting and looting, but from your humble correspondent, just being honest, I believe that actually did provoke some action in this case. And I see folks in the comments saying, yes, what did you want them to do? I don't know. That's what we're talking about here. All right, going back to the box, I believe it is, we'll make it real quick. Lars, haven't talked to Lars in a while, but I'm curious because of what we're discussing. Lars, good afternoon or good evening. I don't know what time it is where you're. Good evening in Greenland, I believe it is.
Yes. I have an opinion on your police.
Yeah, let me ask you that. Now, you're obviously in Greenland. Has this story made any type of news at all over in your country?
No, not
okay.
No news.
All right, fair enough. I was wondering, I'm like, damn, hopefully it didn't make news there. But go ahead with your point.
Yeah, I've been watching your culture, police culture, for many years, and I always thought why the police would always pull the gun out on every arrest.
No, they don't do that. That's not, wait a minute. To defend the police, they don't pull a gun out anywhere near every arrest. I mean, on the arrest, yeah, they don't, unless you're being arrested, generally from a felony arrest or a violent arrest. They don't pull a gun out on you on every arrest.
Okay. But a lot of these violent arrests, I think it's because of the lack of education for the police in America.
You mean our police are not properly trained? You're talking about it from that aspect?
Yes.
Now, in your country, how much training do the police receive?
3 years to become a police officer, and so you get you can get higher with more education.
Okay. Well, in regards to the training and pulling out guns and things like that, I've said it on a lot of my broadcasts. I used to live in Australia, and Australians for the most part is, generally all white. And I lived in an area, Brisbane, Australia, which is the third largest city, which is majority white. And I got pulled over once for speeding. Now, I had moved there straight from living on the south side of Chicago. So I know what it's like to have police similar to what happened in Memphis. So when I got pulled over, 10 and 2, things like that. When I got pulled over, I literally held my hands up like, the window was down, but I had my hands in place of where the window would be to show him my hands. And you know what the officer in Australia told me? Put your hands down. You're not in America. So the problem in this country is, first of all, we have Second Amendment rights. So every police officer has no clue if the person they're dealing with is more heavily armed than they are. Most other countries are not going to have police on edge like that because they have more weapons than, the overwhelming majority of the people they encounter. In America, it's not like that.
Yeah, I know. Part of the education, police education, is communication, is knowing people, what kind of trouble people they are in. So they need to be educated in human communication. So that part of the problem American police, I think they have. It's a lot of violence in the American police, unnecessary violence. If one you can do it, get away with and make it better with education.
But let me ask you this though, because now in your country, does the average citizen own a firearm?
Everybody owns a rifle.
But not pistols and handguns.
Pistols and handguns are illegal.
Okay.
Nobody can own one. But you can own one, but pistol or handgun has to stay at the police station.
Right. Australia is kind of similar to that, but let me ask it to you this way: in terms of you talking about education for police officers, if you gave everyone in your country the ability to own and conceal a pistol or a handgun, do you think your police would still remain as friendly as they are now?
Yeah.
Okay. You don't think they would be on edge at all, knowing that anybody could be armed?
There would be, of course, it would be more dangerous.
Yeah.
It's not logical to say more guns, more danger, more guns, more death. So that's why we don't want any handguns here in our countries.
Well, what about the notion, because you hear this particularly from gun owners in this country all the time. I'm going to throw this at you and you give me your opinion. An armed society is a polite society. Do you...
That's funny.
You hear that all the time. I got to move it on to Lars. You know what we do here. I appreciate you coming through. All right, good talk. Enjoy yourself. Okay, look, but that is a very common statement in this country. An armed society is a polite society. You notice how he laughed at that. I kind of feel the same way. But brother, you Americans don't listen to, what did that say there? I'm reading the comment real quick. Brother, you Americans don't listen to foreign people advice. Too prideful, mental health Americans. That came from, looks like GG or something like that. 100% agree with you. I do believe that arrogance and the ego of us Americans oftentimes does not work in our best interest. I mean, there are plenty of Americans that think this country is the most free place on earth. And being someone who's been in places like Australia and New Zealand and things like that, I can tell you that's not true. That is not true. I mean, America's a great country. I'm not here to put down, the nation we live in, but you can accomplish most of the things you can here in this country in a host of other countries. And there are freedoms that you can enjoy in other countries that you cannot enjoy here. You know how long you've been able to enjoy the work of a prostitute while smoking a blunt and marrying your gay lover in other countries? You can do that shit a long time ago. In America, a lot of that stuff has just become legal, and some of it is still not even legal to do right now. Going back to the box, Gaiden, 1896. Good evening. I keep saying afternoon. I'm used to doing an afternoon show, but good evening there, Gaiden. Welcome to the program.
How you doing, sir? How you doing?
Doing good. It's a pleasure having you on. I saw you in the comments. TikTok moves around the name, so I didn't mean to skip you, but they play musical chairs when you're in there, so my apologies. But what do you think about what we're dealing with coming out of Memphis? Do you think this will ultimately spark some type of change nationwide?
Let me tell you this. I live in this area. Been living in this area for the last, born and raised in this area, been here for the last 50 plus years. And what I can tell you is this is the result of a community, a city that's been out of control like this for a long time.
Elaborate. How so?
This is just not, because if you look at the video, they knew what the position of the young man was. They knew what was happening to him. They knew what they had done, but you see how comfortable they were. You see how comfortable their conversation was.
Yeah.
Because this is a practice habit that's consistent in Memphis. This is nothing new. Everybody in Memphis did not even see it the way y'all saw it, because we've seen much worse.
But what about but what about the idea, because you got the cops on tape saying that this guy is on something, they're saying he grabbed for their gun. Could some of their testimony, which was apparently how they were actually feeling at the scene, could some of their wording actually be used to benefit them in court by saying that, listen, they didn't know that the guy had been beaten to death and they thought he was actually just strung out on drugs, because you see him saying he's high on something. So it appears when you watch the video as if they didn't know he was in distress, but rather thought he was on some type of drugs.
I think it's a way well-rehearsed conversation.
Oh.
Because we know we're wearing that body cam now. So we know we got to say specific things and make sure they are recorded and documented. The problem you had is the overhead cam had so much more you could
Right.
get away from. You know, because if you pay attention to the one officer, he even turned away with the body cam. He was, you know, hiding something, but the overhead cam was getting everything.
Speaking of what you're talking, let me ask you this. Let's take away the overhead cam in the street light. Because you often hear we need cops to wear body cameras so that they'll be held accountable. Do you believe if that body cam footage was the only footage we have, do you believe those cops will be facing anything?
I believe they would be getting the regular routine thing of paid leave right now. We're investigating. I think it would have been more so, hey, who do we have to charge? Who do we not have to charge? How severe is this person charge going to be based on this person? Memphis is unnatural. Memphis is Chicago and Detroit combined. And we've been seeing this for a long time, and you finally seen the result of nothing being done. Because, and I'm not trying to just drag them down, but when I tell you the city is toxic, the city is toxic.
Wow.
What you saw today is a regular routine thing. Those guys, the one lady said that she thought it was personal. No, it was not personal. It was not personal. What it was routine. That's their MO.
Wow.
That's their MO.
I gotta ask you this question because I say it in every broadcast. My program is MAGA friendly for folks on the right. You got folks asking right now, because it is a black outfit doing this to a black victim, where is Black Lives Matter? How do you respond to folks that are suggesting, why isn't Black Lives Matter intervening now because the guys are not white? How do you respond to that?
I really don't know how to accept to say. I've seen a few things take place where Black Lives Matter response has lessened more and more over time. And I think even for them, this is a hard pill to swallow because it's us now. It's internal. There's the police chief is us. It's all internal.
But wait a minute. But hold on. Now, based on what you're saying, it's a hard pill to swallow because it's us. So you're admitting that Black Lives Matter really is only used to reacting when the bad person is a white person. But when the bad person is black, as you say, it's us, and it's a hard pill to swallow, and they're slow to act. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying you got to be thrown back by what you just saw. You got to be thrown back, and if you got both eyes open, you got to be thrown back by what you just saw. You got to be thrown back by the comfort level. You got a lot of questions there because the comfort level is what got me. You were comfortable knowing what you did. The paramedics was comfortable with not giving you care.
Yeah, I get the notion that the cops seem to be fine, roughing up people. But I mean, from the Black Lives Matter angle, you got folks like User 413 in the comments, based on your answer to my question, saying that Black Lives Matter has no credibility now, in regards to the way they're treating this. Like, let me just ask you, and get your honest opinion. You can tell me however you feel, but if those 5 officers had been white under the exact same circumstances, do you believe Black Lives Matter response would have been different? Because at the end of the day, we're talking about police brutality, which is what we want to address. But if these cops were white instead of black, do you believe the response from Black Lives Matter would have been different?
Man, I'm just gonna be honest with you. I believe the overall response nationwide would be different. I believe the same thing that we went through for George Floyd, we would be going through that right now. And Memphis is a ticking time bomb. I believe Memphis would be a red city tonight if those guys had been white. I think they would have been in flames a long time ago.
But how does that make us look? And I'm not saying that what you're saying. I kind of agree with what you're saying. But at the end of the day, I have to ask, how does that make us look that as long as it is one of us wrongfully killing us, we don't act the same way, but all of a sudden when a white person does it, we get outraged? Wouldn't that also make our judgment somewhat racially biased as well?
This is my answer to what you just said, and I'm glad you said it. I think when you have a situation like this, that's already completely out of control, not for years, not for months, but for decades now, I think you get to a place where there's no conversation on, there's no way to conversate about what could be, what could not be. You have not done anything about a systemic problem that's decades old. You got to remember, NWA said blank the police a long time ago based on things like this. So we're talking about way back to the 80s, the 70s, the 60s. You have a situation that's out of control and nobody's doing anything to legitimately change it. So
yeah, but I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, and you're right. NWA, I believe it was Ice Cube that once said black police showing up for the white cop. And if you watched the 1991 film Boys in the Hood, Cuba Gooding Jr. had a scene where he was mistreated by police and came home swinging at the air. So the point I'm trying to make is that we've been crying out about mistreatment by police and black cops doing that for at least that is 30 years ago. So why in 2023 would we treat a black cop mistreating a black person differently than a white person when we've been admitting for at least 30 years of my life that black cops are capable of doing this stuff too?
Brother, I don't have a solid answer for you. I wish I could give you something that made sense, but I just see a hopeless situation that's only going to get worse if we don't grab hold of it now and actually do some things about it. What I will say to you is this, though. What I will say to you is this: is that when you see us doing it, when you're a black cop, every day you're probably pretty much confronted with something that say, "Hey, man, you got to remember, you're a cop. You know, you're one of us." We don't get the same conversation that a white officer would get because we're in situations where we have to allow a white officer to do some things to us as black people that we don't allow black officers to do to white people in front of white officers. We get that conversation in the room that, hey man, we're one. We're blue. We're blue. We're blue. We're blue. You don't get to be black in that uniform. You
right.
get to be blue in that uniform. And I think you saw the result of that mindset taking over.
All right.
That's that mindset that took over. This uniform is blue. I'm protected by the blue. Well, for black officers nationwide, you just found out they snatch that blue off of you when you do enough, and you're on your own.
Yep.
Because nobody's coming to their aid. You don't see these different organizations that protect the police out here saying, "Hey, man, we're gonna fight for you too." No, you're on your own now. So
well, They didn't come to the aid of Derek Chauvin with George Floyd either. But Guyton, I got to move it on as usual. But I appreciate you coming in, man.
I want to leave you with one last thing, and I've been asking everybody this. The bigger question to me is, what is going to happen when we reach a point where we decide to retaliate and we decide to respond? What's next? What are you going to do when we decide to snap out when that day comes? Because that's where we're at, and nobody's trying to put that down. And I think they know it, and I think it's an answer. But what happens when we decide? That's my biggest question. What happens when we are no longer able to be policed? Wow. Because we have that mistrust. What's next?
Fair enough. That sounds like a civil war, man, but I got to go. Appreciate you coming in. I really hope, in responding to what the gentleman just stated, I really hope that we never reach that threshold where we are so angry that, as he stated, we can no longer be policed. But to some degree, isn't that exactly what nationwide rioting is? Where we've gotten so angry that in those areas you cannot be policed. I mean, that's what the police generally do is they back off, they go to their corners and they allow it to happen. Now, unfortunately, it's generally in our own areas. I don't know if it got pissed off with police and decided to riot and loot in upscale white areas, I don't think the response would be the same. But when we're rioting and looting, it's generally in our own areas. Nevertheless, I am the first to suggest that while I do not encourage or support rioting and looting in any way, fashion, or form, it gets shit done. It gets shit done really fast. I mean, even if you go back in time, how long had Jesse Jackson and the L Sharptons had been complaining about, Confederate statues and shit like that? All of a sudden, folks start rioting and looting, tearing them damn things down, and now they're gone everywhere. But they've been complaining about Confederate statues for 20, 30, 40 years. The complaints have been there, but they were protesting, quote unquote, the right way. You can easily ignore people who protest the right way. It is protesting the wrong way that forces people to address what you're protesting. All right, going back to the box. It's kept the west side of Chicago down since the 60s. Wow. Going back to the box, it is Sweaty Monkey. Oh, wait a minute, I seen Preacher in here first. By the way, folks, I apologize with the way I'm bringing you up. Sometimes TikTok plays musical chairs with the names. There's a bunch of you folks in here. By the way, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 10,000 likes. Despite the conversation, despite the name of the program, make no mistake about it, it's always a MAGA-friendly program. I may lean left, but my preferred guests are folks on the right. We're not talking about politics today, but I always make the solemn promise that I do not block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. Preacher, good evening.
What's up, bro? What's going on, bro? How you doing?
I don't even know, man, after watching that video last night. It's come to the point where I'm asking, like, how many times can you watch a guy get beaten to death? Even right now, they're showing it on CNN.
I only watched that video one time. I watched up to the point, I think, when the officers was holding him and punching him. After that, I just couldn't watch anymore. And yeah. I just refuse to watch anymore of that. I hear you guys. You were talking about BLM and why they're not involved, or
right.
why they haven't been getting involved. And I think personally it's because they usually come when something is not being done. So they usually is when something isn't being done. It seems to be dragging out. Someone seems to be almost getting away with something. Then they come and they usually, do the thing that they do.
Right.
And being that, I think because the punishment or their arrest came so swiftly, there's really no need for them. There's really no need.
Speaking of what you're saying, I've said the same thing, that generally when they're protesting, the typical chant is no justice, no peace. Meaning if we don't get justice, you're not going to have any peace. But in this case, these men have been brought to justice, which would, because I said the same thing when they were talking about, are we going to have protests when the video is released? And my question was, if they've been charged for murder, what are you protesting that happens? I mean, there's not more they can do other than a lynch mob. So it's like they've been brought to justice.
That's correct. So there's no reason for them protesting. There's definitely no reason for anyone to be rioting or looting. If you go back to the Rodney King incident, everyone watched that video.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing happened to the officers. They was arrested, and the juries of his peers said, "Oh, not guilty."
Yeah.
That's when the rioting started.
Yeah.
Now, I agree with you. I don't agree with rioting and looting, but unfortunately, it works.
Yeah, it does.
It actually, you know what it's like? Well, any parents anybody that's a parent that's in the comment section, you can attest to this. If you have kids, they're in their room and they're playing or they're bothering you, you say, get out of here, don't worry about it because you're doing something else. The moment you hear a child cry or a loud crashing noise, you stop what you're doing,
and you go in that room, and I can attest because I have kids, and I'll let them go, and they'll complain, and they'll do all of that. I go, oh, get out of here, I don't want to hear it. The moment I hear a crash and a loud noise, I go in that room and go, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
That's actually what happened when it came to the Rodney King incident, because they was found not guilty.
Well, but you know something, but to me, I think the George Floyd case was more similar to what we're talking about, because for 4 days, that video in the George Floyd case was out in the public, and they had not charged Derek Chauvin, which led to even the mayor of Minneapolis and the governor of Minnesota yelling like, these guys need to be charged. And that is why Minneapolis, that's why Minneapolis burned, is because you got this on video and you guys haven't even done so much as charge this guy. Now in the Rodney King case, it was a case where we're watching and basically saying, if these mofos don't get convicted, we're gonna go apeshit. So there was really no way the justice system could rule other than guilty.
That's right.
And when they ruled not guilty, but do you see this case in Memphis as being worse as Rodney King? And by the way, Rodney King didn't die. This guy died, but did it?
Well, if you and unfortunately, if you remember the face of Rodney King when they showed his face and his injury,
Yeah.
he was swelled up, his eyes was closed. He just happened to survive his injuries. This individual did not survive his injuries, and it was the cases are the same. We watch cops just brutally beat 2 individuals. In Rodney King, we watched it. They just took their turn.
But
In this incident,
let me run this by. Do you see any racial disparity in this? Meaning, in regards to the African American cops, the ones pictured on the screen behind, being charged so quickly, do you think that the same justice would have been swift if they were white?
so I don't want to. I can give my opinion and say yes, but I can't for sure say that. I can easily say, oh, well, that's the reason, and only because I'm black, and I know how it goes when it comes to police officers and how things happen. Oh, we got to investigate. Usually take a whole lot of time to investigate.
Yeah.
With these individuals, it was swift. With the
Yeah.
cop that unalived the woman in Minnesota, I think it was, by mistake. I think she startled him, and he unalived her. It was swift with him.
Yeah.
He was
Very.
African American.
Very.
That was swift.
Yeah.
So, is that the case? Yes. But putting all of that aside, whatever they get, they deserve.
Yeah. Don't disagree with you. Go ahead.
All the punishment they deserve, because they are disgusting. To watch them do that and actually hold his arms as others. That was a game.
So
that was game.
So just asking you, at the end of the day, it is safe to assume you, just like everybody else, you are greatly outraged in what you saw.
Oh, man.
So, okay, so I'm asking you that question. I'm asking you that question because there's an obvious follow-up. You're admitting you're greatly outraged. Would your level of outrage have been any different if the cops were white?
No, that just, you know what it is? It's like a meal. The 4-course meal is a cop, it's unalived another black male. That's the meal. The dessert is the color of the skin, so to speak.
That's a hell of an analogy. You made
That's what I'm saying. Because the dessert is them, because it's not like that they don't, you know, it's not like black cops don't beat up rap.
Apparently my guest dropped out. I don't know what happened there. Okay, well, moving on. Anyhow, I'm reading the comments real quick. At this point, it is too late to not have arms. We have let the criminals in. I'm assuming that's a immigration-related question. Deadly weapons jig. You said at this point, it is too late to not have arms. We have let the criminals in. I guess the elaborate on the comment. As always, I make it clear, folks. I don't ban, block, or censor anyone for their commentary. Whether I agree or not, I always make the solemn promise to respect comments coming from the other side of the aisle. In fact, this is a MAGA-friendly program, and my preferred guests are MAGA. But in this case, I don't quite understand what you're saying there. Once again, in regards to not agreeing with comments, in the comment section, looks like it is Paul Karan. I can't pronounce the name, but Floyd, meaning George Floyd. Floyd wasn't murdered. He died from second-degree homicide. Murder is premeditated truth. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. In my opinion, the guy was murdered. I mean, if you want to say that he died, I don't see how you can say he wasn't murdered, but I get the legal jargon you're throwing there. Maybe I'm wrong, but I would say he's murdered. Immigrants are American as well. Well, there has to be a process. This is not an immigration conversation, but all right. We have allowed people, this is the follow-up from Deadly Weapon Jigs. We have allowed people to run rampant and let them do whatever they wanted. So we have to protect ourselves. Who is allowed to run rampant? What is your definition of rampant? Because I'm assuming you're suggesting that there are people in this country that could do anything they want without any fear of any type of justice or censorship. Therefore, you need a gun just in case they do something against you. You can take their life. Is that what I'm getting? That's a pretty strong comment. I'd love to have you elaborate on it. You have to prove premeditation, so legally not murder, but yes, murder. Okay, that's in regards to the Derek Chauvin. Fair enough. That is supposedly the legal definition. I'm not a lawyer by any means, so appreciate you coming through and providing clarity on that. Moving the program on, Deadly Weapon Jinx. Okay, fair enough. Okay, explain what you're talking about there, sir, and welcome to the program. I think this is our first time talking.
Yes.
Okay.
What I am saying is it has nothing to do with color. Okay. What I'm saying is as a society, we have been very tolerant of bad behavior that could I'm trying to find the right words.
Give me an example of bad behavior we've been tolerant of.
Okay. We have more drugs in this country now than we have ever. Okay. Because we're not taking care of our borders.
So we had a war on drugs for 30 plus years. Do you consider that was a success?
No, I consider it a failure.
Okay. So, but you believe the lack of enforcement at the border is what's leading us to have an explosion of drugs in this country?
I believe that we have we've been tolerant. We've been tolerant to things and slapped people on the hand instead of taking care of things like they used to. If we went back and treated criminals like we did, say, in the 40s or the 50s, the people who are committing crimes now would not be committing those crimes because they would have results.
I don't know, and I hear that often. I don't know if being tough on crime is the know-all, end-all in this country, because when you look at the actual numbers, America has more people incarcerated, rather percentage-wise or actual number, than any other country on earth, and yet we're still complaining about crime. So getting tough on crime, and then of course I mentioned the war on drugs, in which they got really tough on crime, and there was no issue with getting high during the war on drugs. Like, for instance, you're mentioning the border. There are a lot of folks who believe that Trump was far more efficient at securing the border than President Biden. However, under the Trump administration, was there a shortage of drugs in this country? Did you have a problem getting high if you wanted to? I don't know if securing the border alone is the problem in regards to the stuff you're talking about.
Right, and you're correct. The border is not the only problem. There's multitudes of problems. multitudes of problems that should have been corrected. And a lot of the people who are incarcerated now are incarcerated for things that could have been handled differently.
Yeah.
I mean, we have people who are in prison over drugs that are sent to more time than people who commit rape or murder.
Yeah. But let me also, in response to your comment, that if we went back to doing things judicially like we did in the 40s and 50s, the country would have more law-abiding citizens. I would vehemently disagree under the simple premise that in the 1940s and 50s, you could get away with doing a lot of things that are now considered as felonies. For instance, just simply the way minorities was treated in this country back then, which was 100% legal, all of that would be crimes now. So if you actually tried to go back to the 40s and 50s, it will not work because of the way people are treated now. But I mean, back in the 40s and 50s, all of the oppression or the Jim Crow laws, if you were white and you attacked a black man, all of that stuff you could get away with. So of course you're not going to have as many people being arrested because a lot of people are committing crimes back then that are not considered crimes.
And that was part of what I was trying to get out was that I don't think that black people have the same rights as white people. Black, brown, blue, yellow, purple, green, I don't care what color you are.
Do you believe there's any issue in this country with systemic racism in 2023?
I do to some degree.
How so? How so?
The fact that if I met a big white guy in an alley, I'm going to be leery of that dude, okay? I'm just going to tell you, as a woman, I'm going to be leery of him. But if I met a big black dude in an alley, I'm going to be leery of him too.
But that's not, when I'm asking you, do you believe there is an issue between African Americans and police as opposed to how they treat whites? Do you believe, on average, the police treat African Americans and minorities differently than whites?
On average, yes, I do believe that they do treat them different.
Is it worse?
I do believe that when they make a stop and it is a black person, I do believe that they are heightened. I do agree with that.
Okay. What about in terms of sentencing and fines and things like that? Do you believe the judicial system hands down tougher penalties to African Americans and minorities as opposed to whites for the same crimes?
That I couldn't give you an honest opinion on because I haven't really thought that deep into that.
Okay.
I haven't looked at the statistic on that at all. I can tell you in my area, I live in the Deep South, I live in the Bible Belt, and I can tell you that here we have respect because I live in a predominantly colored area.
Okay.
Okay? And we look at each other as equals here. Now, this is my town. This is not typical area, okay? This is my small town. We have less than 10,000 people in this town. Everybody knows everybody.
All right.
So it's non-typical. It's not a large city.
If you're in the Deep South, I guess I kind of know the answer, but I'll let you give your spiel. Does your area have any type of racial history to it?
Yes, it does.
When did it end?
I couldn't give you a date, but I can tell you that it was different when I went to school than it was when my mother went to school.
Okay, but you don't know, are you certain it has completely ended or has it been reduced?
It has a major reduction. I can't say that it is 100% because nothing's ever 100%.
Okay.
Like that.
Do African Americans in your area complain of racism?
No, not really.
Okay.
I mean, I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anything politically, and we just had election not too long ago. there was nothing brought up like that on the political side. There has been nothing like that brought up in the school district area.
Okay. I'm curious. You don't necessarily have to answer the question, and certainly I don't need to know the city, but I'm curious. What state are you in?
I'm in Arkansas.
Okay. And you haven't heard anything in Arkansas, huh? That's interesting because...
Now, wait a minute. In my area in Arkansas.
Oh, okay. All right.
Now, I'm not claiming the whole state. I'm claiming my little area.
All right. Well,
my little town.
you actually could be floating on a lily pad in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So just want you to understand that. I mean, maybe your area, I can't...
I'm in the middle of a 40-acre cotton field.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Listen, this is our first time talking deadly weapon. Wow. Okay. It's our first time talking, right?
Yes, I make crappie jigs. It's a deadly weapon crappie jig.
Okay.
So I make crappie jigs and they fish and they catch, so they bite. You know what I mean?
Very nice.
So
Very
it's
nice.
a fancy name. It's not anything.
It's not. Okay, I get it. All right, well, I got to move it on. Hey, come on back through anytime.
I do like you quite a bit, and thank you so much for letting me say my piece.
Fair enough. You're always welcome back. Good talk. All right, moving on in the comments here. She's interesting, says, hey, as I think it is, I'll come when she's off the phone. I don't get it. 5 black people in Arkansas. So, well, she said in her area, being, in her defense, she did not claim the entire state of Arkansas. She said in her area, that is what she has observed. And that's why I responded by saying you could be on a lily pad in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and think that, the ground under you is solid. I always point out the humorous comments when I see them. 34, I can't see the rest of that, but says, can smart white people talk now? Listen, at the end of all of my guests, I respect and appreciate the opinion of all of my guests. However, that is a funny comment, but I'm never here to pretend as if I am a know-it-all or my opinion is more valuable than yours. I make it clear I value the opinion of all of my guests. And one thing I make in terms of my traditional promises, I never talk down to guests, which is why I always say I do not ban, block, or censor anyone. And free speech rights, paramount here. But let's go back to the box and back to the comment of why isn't Black Lives Matter so outraged? I've seen folks in the comments asking that. And we'll move it on and go straight to sweaty money. Sweaty money. So, hell of a name. So you're not only out there working hard, but your money is damp with sweat. Sweaty money. Good afternoon or good evening.
Good morning, man. Hey, I just woke up, man. I just got off of work. I'm a black officer. I just want to share a couple things real quick.
Let's have it.
And to go back to the last person that spoke, I feel like she was way off topic. And I feel like she's stuck in a whole different era than.
How so? Elaborate. How do you? What about her comments made you think she was stuck in a different era?
Going back to the 40 and 50 era, like, we're in 2023 right now, and it's a way different era. Like, you're not gonna, those ways were a little bit more, leaning to one side, as in, how they, operated, by taking people in, by, prosecuting. Those ways operate way different. There's still people in jail from those days, but I just want to let you know that, like, I don't want to be on here too long. Like, I hear your podcast right now, and I just want to let you know, man, like, what those officers did, man, that was a big hit to a lot of black officers that are good out there. That was a hit to a lot of officers that are good out there, black, white,
well, let me ask you this: since you're in law enforcement, I mean, and this could apply no matter where the hell you're serving at. Why is it that good officers ignore the activity of bad officers? This happens probably in every damn department in the country. Why is it that y'all don't speak up?
I'm speaking up now, man. I've been speaking up the last couple of days.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. You know what I'm talking
I
about.
get what you're saying. Yeah, and there's a lot of them that, I mean, it's a tough subject to, talk about being in that career because, yes, these guys are your brothers, and then, in some departments, you're just a sprinkle of color within that department. In my department, I think we have a total of maybe, I'd say probably 6 black officers in my department.
Okay.
And, when we speak about, something like that, you got another half that, is against it. They have some type of, rebuttal about what we say. But at the end of the day, it needs to be, corrected where, officers need to start, stepping up to those situations.
So let me ask you this. In your department right now where you're serving, if you saw another officer do something wrong, do you feel as though you would have any issues reporting that officer to your superiors?
Absolutely not. I've done it before, if I feel somebody's being treated a certain way on a call, I'm going to call them out. I'll pull them to the side first. And I'll talk to them, tell them my piece. But, if I see, multiple occasions of them, acting out of term, that's got to go up to the top because, we try to build that trust within our community. And just for, it to be knocked down in one case.
Well, I got a comment. Somebody in the comments, and I would like to, you can give me your numbers. 19 Rodwell asked, how many folks are in your precinct? How big is your department?
My department, we have a total of, we're at like 84 officers.
Okay.
We have in the summer, we have over 100,000 people. We're near Chicago. So
you're one of the burbs. Okay, you're one of the suburbs.
Not technically. I'm not in Chicago, but I'm right out of Chicago, I'll tell you that. But I'm not in Illinois, though.
Oh, so you're over I'm assuming you're Hammond, Gary, in the Indiana side somewhere over there.
Yeah, in the region, yep.
Okay, all right. I'm familiar with, I've lived in Chicago for 30 plus years, so I'm quite familiar with the area. So, okay, and it's no safer on the Indiana side. Folks talking about how bad Chicago is, going into Hammond, Indiana, Gary, and things like that. It doesn't get any safer. So, shout out to you for the service there. But so when you see these officers on television like this, that's the first thought is that this is a bad blow to officers of color.
To officers in general, but yes, to officers in color.
Do you think the fact that they were charged as quick as they are has anything to do with them being colored, black?
So this case came out when I think it was January 7th, correct?
Yeah, that's when because to some degree, in my opinion, if they knew this happened on January 7th, I don't think this is swift justice. To me, when you got a clear-cut violation on video, even taking 2 weeks is a long-ass time, in my opinion. But yeah, January 7th seems like when it came out, or when they did it.
So yeah, I don't think it was as swift. I think it was almost the same time frame as the George Floyd act. But I mean, it takes time for them to doctor. I mean, when I say doctor those videos, I say it as, they're blurring out people's face, they're blurring out, ads or whatever, or, labels or whatever in those videos. That's why it takes so long to get those videos out. But the justice-wise, I mean, like I said, I don't think it was swift. If that happened 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. Well, in the comments, I want to run it because I think this is a pretty good question. Mary Tag 12 in the comments asked, would you have intervened if you were one of the other cops? So you got 5 bad officers at least, if not more. If you're one guy at the scene watching them whip this guy's ass like that, would you have intervened in that situation?
Absolutely. I don't care, if it's one of my boys, on the shift, I don't care who it is. Like, in that situation, you defend, even if they're fighting back, if this guy has his hands behind his back and he's handcuffed and you're punching him, kicking him, Like, what are you doing? That's not the badge, that's not what we're doing. That's a personal issue. That is an emotional issue. That is an ego issue that you had with that person, and you just let it get the best of you.
So
And
what if you had a fellow officer that you was cool with on the department and they were on the scene and they chose not to intervene and told you, I would normally have done something, but I'm scared. I mean, you got 5 guys. What do you expect me to do? Would you hold another officer accountable if they stated they didn't do anything because they were fearful of the other officers retaliating against them?
I guess that's a conversation we would have to have. I mean, like I said, I know for sure that I wouldn't stand for that. I mean, I can't speak for somebody else to, do the same,
Right.
I don't know, man. It's a tough situation, and like I said, like, don't get me wrong, those officers, I hope they get, charged with everything in that book.
Yeah.
What they did is just horrible. I was literally sick all day at work, just thinking about it and trying to watch that video.
Yeah, it set your relations, it set you guys' relations back with the public significantly. But before I let you go, I want to ask you a law enforcement related question that's a bit off topic, but I had a show on this a couple days ago, and it is the LA police chief out in Los Angeles has prohibited his officers from displaying that thin blue line flag in public. So none of the officers can display that flag. Now, the chief stated that flag, the thin blue line flag, has been hijacked by right-wing extremists and white supremacists and things like that. So, and by the way, the chief of LA police is a white guy, but he's saying that he does not want his officers flying that flag because it's been hijacked by white supremacists and right-wing extremists. Do you see any validity to what he said, or do you think that's outrageous? And do you wear that flag? Do you have that on your uniform?
No, I don't have that on my uniform. Let me try to. I'm sorry. Like I said, I just woke up. So
okay. I didn't mean to. Listen, I didn't mean to hit you with it, but if you want, you can go ahead and give your take on it. We'll move it on, but if you can go ahead and give me your take on it.
I think the flag. I mean, a lot of people see it. A lot of modern day people see it as the police, like a police gang or something. That's not what it's for. It's not. It doesn't stand for violence. It doesn't stand for prejudice. It stands for fallen officers that have put their life out on the line to help people and have died helping people. And I get that's like one little symbol that the police use. And somebody got offended. I think it was just one person that got offended. I'm pretty sure I read that story correctly. And the police, the chief banned it. But I mean, I've noticed that we've starting to, become very, sensitive to a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about typical situation, but a lot of different things where, if one person gets offended, we're going to ban it or we're going to cancel that person, which not even looking into the story behind, the reason, that flag is brought up or,
but I don't think the chief is saying, I get what you're saying, and I kind of agree with what you're saying about, the overwhelming, cancel culture is getting out of hand, but he's saying it's been hijacked. And when I think the way I interpret it is, there's no shortage of folks that fly the Blue Lives Matter flag or the thin blue line flag right alongside the Confederate flag. He's talking about people like that. Even at the January 6th protest, rally, riot, insurrection, whatever folks want to call it, there's folks flying both flags simultaneously. I think that is what he is suggesting when he says that flag has been hijacked by certain groups. And I got folks in the comments stating that the thin blue line flag was created as a counter to Black Lives Matter. Do you see any of that?
No, I disagree with that.
Okay.
But I see what you're saying. I see you're saying that people are using it as an opportunity, like when they're flying their Confederate flags. saying that they support police, which it's not really a support. It's just putting it on there to show like, okay, we're on the police side, against people that are against the police. I get what you're saying. I don't. Like I said, I don't. That flag was not made for that. That flag was out a long ass time ago.
I don't, but that's an interesting point when you say it's been out a long ass time now. I've been around for a while. I'm a child of the 70s and 80s, and I know Black Lives Matter came out in the early teens, 2013, 2014. I'm just going to tell you, I personally, and folks in the audience can tell me what their opinion is on this. I don't remember seeing the thin blue line flag before Black Lives Matter. Are you telling me it was already around?
Yes, sir. It was around a long time ago because honestly, it was only within the police community. I mean,
Okay.
they didn't have like all the different type of like, flags and magnets and all that stuff out at that time. It was literally within the police community. And then, somebody made a flag about it, start hanging it, and then it just took off from there.
Okay.
So,
All right.
But yeah, like I said, man, to get to go back to your actual topic, man, I think they charged these guys, in a rightful manner. I think they looked through the whole situation, which that video told everything you needed to know. Like, there's no going back. Like, clearly these guys had an ego. I think a lot of those officers on scene should also be talked to or, put on the spot as well, because like if you look at that first video where they're actually at the traffic stop, the guy tases the guy, or he tries to tase him, and they all end up getting pepper sprayed.
Yeah.
You hear the guy with the glasses, he's like, I hope they stomp him.
Yes.
He stomped, blah, blah,
Yes.
blah. Clearly to me, this has been going on a long time. These guys knew who the guy was, and they got their feelings hurt because they pepper sprayed.
So I had a guest on a few guests back that said they believed the relationship with these cops and that individual was personal, like they already knew him. Are you saying that you believe the same thing?
Yes, sir.
Wow. All right. Well, I'm assuming that will come out. I'm assuming if that's the case, that may ultimately come out. But listen, Sweaty Money, I gotta move it on. Appreciate you coming in. Hey, good talk. All right, looking. Oh, anytime. Come on back through anytime, man. All right, it's nice to have a member of law enforcement on because, like I said, I always have questions when we have topics and you get somebody that actually is experienced in that particular area of expertise. It's always nice to be able to ask them questions. One question I kind of wanted to ask, but we had covered so much is, Chris Rock has a video floating on YouTube, and he used to have an HBO special, where he stated if you run from police and they have to catch you, when they catch you, they're going to bring an ass whooping with them. I would have loved to have asked the officer that, but we covered a lot. All right, going back to the box, the thin blue line flag originated in 2014, says Lewis. Is that true? Because we just had a member of law enforcement on that said the flag had been around for years. In 2014, because I am telling you, your humble correspondent, a man of the 70s and 80s, a kid of the 70s, I don't remember seeing that flag. But we had a member of law enforcement saying it's been around for years, but I don't remember that. I don't remember it being around back then. Real quick for you folks that are tuned in on YouTube, unfortunately, I'm not able to see the comments long enough to respond, but I do appreciate, because you normally are my ride sharing audience, but the actual video as meant to be shown is on TikTok, but it is being simulcast on YouTube right now, just trying out the simulcast. All right, where is the police unions for these black officers? Diakora, I don't know if the police union wants to get involved in this shit. You would put the entire union in jeopardy defending these guys, just like with Derek Chauvin. I don't believe the police, in fact, I think that, because Derek Chauvin had like 19 years of experience, so he was certainly a member of the union. I don't believe they really stepped up and defended Derek Chauvin very much in George Floyd's case either. If you want your union to be respected, you can't go and defend some shit like that. I don't think the union is going to help these guys out much at all, other than steering them in the direction of a decent lawyer. That's about all you really can do. My cousin, who is an officer, said it was in his office back in 2000. Okay, toxic widow. The names you guys come up with. So your cousin who is in law enforcement said the thin blue line flag was in his office back in 2000. All right. Like I said, I don't know. Let's keep it moving. Police accountability. And I see Hooper Cooper in there, but police accountability. Good evening. With a name like that, welcome to the program. I'm assuming you saw the video as well.
Okay. So Mike got his copy for that one. Yeah. All right, so we get that.
Police, can you hear me, sir?
Oh, what's up, man? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Good to have you on. So I'm assuming you've obviously saw the video probably a number of times, just like everybody else.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, it's bad, man.
Yeah, it's real bad. But at the same time, these men have been brought to justice. So do you think this could spark change? Do you think something like this, not in the entire nation, if not many other nations as well around the world, have seen this? Do you think this will ultimately spark some form of change in America?
I don't believe so, because if that was gonna be, man, it would have been a long time ago. I mean, look at George Floyd, look at Rodney King, look at so many others, man.
Well, with George Floyd, to the credit of President Biden, he did try to pass some George Floyd Policing Act. I'm not really knowledgeable of exactly what was there. I believe it was shot down from the Republican side of the aisle. But when you say change and nothing has happened, they did try to pass something in recognition of what happened to George Floyd.
But there's nothing to be passed. The people that run Memphis are African American. 60% of the leaders in that county or that city is African American.
Right.
So it's like it's like if you have a kid, right, and you don't watch that kid, and you leave that kid in the car, and that kid die. Who's responsible for that kid's death? Is it somebody else, or is it that person that left that kid in the car?
Yeah, but you're talking about a negligent situation versus this, which was for the most part intentional.
Yeah, but the police chief is
the
police chief is African American.
So I've asked this before to a previous caller. Do you believe the outrage would have been different if the cops were white?
If the cops, there's a white cop in that video. I don't know if you.
Yeah, but the ass kicking ain't coming from. Yeah, but
the thing about it is, when it comes to racial matters, black folks are weird. If the cops had been white males or white women, the protest would have been crazy on the streets right now.
If you're a black guy and you get your ass beat by a bunch of white women, I don't know how that would go. That would be interesting.
I'm just saying, if the cops were white, whether they're white male or white women,
okay,
the streets would have been flooded with black folks protesting in New York and California, New Jersey, all over the place.
But why is that? That would mean that Black Lives Matter and African Americans and people of color that protest are racist in their judgment. If you're only going to be upset when a white person, does something bad to blacks, then that means your judgment is racist.
But at the end of the day, we have personal issues that needs to be fixed within our communities or within our people. Because, I'm one of the guys that I call Memphis PD to ask them why they did what they did.
You actually, you actually called the Memphis PD?
I called them, yeah. And guess what they did to me? They hung up on me.
Whoa.
That's serious.
What? When did you make the phone call?
Before the video release, like as call them every couple of times whenever I get a chance.
And what were you going to ask? What was the question you were trying to ask?
I mean, obviously you're upset, so you end up cursing at them a few times.
So you called up the Memphis police and started cussing them out?
Yeah, I mean, because you're angry,
No wonder they hung up on your ass. You can't cuss the people out. But what were you trying to ask? You can use the curse words if you want, but even without the curse words, what were you trying to ask them?
I mean, basically you telling them, like you asking them why they haven't made the arrest yet, things like that,
Okay.
And the people that was answering the phone, they were African American as well.
Okay. But you called at a time when the video had not been released. So without seeing the video, how were you for certain? Well, I guess everybody else was saying. I was gonna say, how were you for certain that what they did was arrest worthy? You hadn't seen the video yet.
I mean, the thing about it is, when you're in your 30s or in your 40s, you already have a presumption on what really taking. You don't have to see a video to know what take place. You already have an idea in your head.
Yeah, but you can't demand folks be arrested and held accountable for an idea in your head.
Okay, but let me ask you a question. Yeah, thank you. You too. Thank you, buddy. So let me ask you a question. If you went downtown Chicago, right? Okay, let's say you go downtown New York City.
Okay.
And you walk in downtown New York City and you shove an 80-year-old white man. And that white man fell and had a concussion. And his head is busted now, right?
Okay.
They call ambulance and he goes to the hospital. What do you think gonna happen with that black man that shoved this white man and he fell on his head?
Okay, wait a minute. Okay, you didn't put that. So you're saying I'm downtown New York and I watch an African American shove an elderly white man to the ground.
No. I'm talking about you. You go downtown New York City on whatever they call it, Foursquare, whatever they
Times Square. Okay, I'm down. I want to move it along, but I'm trying to figure out what you're saying. You're saying I'm in Times Square and I shove someone?
You shove an 80-year-old white man or white woman.
Okay.
And that person fell. Now that person busted their head. They hit that car.
Well, it's obviously a crime. Okay. I mean, if I'm on video shoving somebody and causing that much injury, I'm going to be charged with a crime.
Okay. But, my man, we're talking about Tyree Nichols versus you shoving a white woman. The white man in that area would have tackled you to hold you until the cop shows up.
Okay.
You would be arrested for elderly abuse.
Okay.
Now, 3 days later, the white man died or the white woman died. You go to jail for murder or homicide, whatever they want to call it, right?
All right.
So I'm trying to tell you, if you did something in America, you get arrested the same day. Black folk get arrested for going to McDonald's and not happy with their menu. They try to talk to a manager, they call the cops on them, they get arrested for trespassing every single day, my man.
Okay.
You have a cop that did a beating on this man. And it took 3 weeks for these cops to get arrested, my man.
Okay, I get your point now. You're basically saying that the police were given the benefit of the doubt, even with a damn video, that the average citizen would not have received.
That's correct. But
Okay.
guess what? That police chief saw that video the next day. That black woman that's in charge.
So you believe the police chief? You're kind of saying what I said. You're kind of saying what I had another guest earlier say. You're saying that the police chief might actually end up being reprimanded in this as well because she saw the video and took so damn long.
Yeah, because if a black man did something in America, all eyes on that black man. A black woman do something in America, all eyes on that black woman. And if it's multiple of them, then the police force respond harder than versus one black person.
Okay, well, let me ask you this before I let you go. Let me ask you this. Let's reverse this. You gave an interesting.
You can't let me go because I've been waiting to get in here for a while.
You're in here now. Wait. This is my program. Let me ask you this. I'm reversing your scenario. Let's say that your Times Square situation, where you're talking about a guy like me shoving, a white person. What if it was reversed? What if you had two elderly African Americans and a white guy shoved them with the same results? Are you suggesting a white guy would not face justice?
Okay, I'm glad you brought this point, my friend. Memphis Police Department has several white men that's on the force right now that has beat up black elderly people, and they have yet to face charges. Just go to YouTube, my man. Type in Memphis Police Department, and you see all these videos where white men officers beat up 91-year-old black men, all because the man was walking on the sidewalk with a stick. The cop came up to him.
But what if it wasn't a cop? Your scenario, your Times Square scenario, featured me, a regular citizen, pushing two elderly people. I'm asking, what if a regular white citizen?
My man, it's only been 50 years since black people start getting a little bit of freedom in this country, man.
I get that.
So let's not forget that, okay?
But I'm asking you in 2023, in your opinion, if a white citizen pushed two elderly black people down.
This country has always been built for white folks, regardless if you like it or not, my man. Let's put it this way. Look how much money Joe Biden has given to Ukraine. Look how much money Joe Biden has given to Ukraine.
Okay.
How about that money go back in the black community and see how many black billionaires that we create in a few years?
All right. I get what you said. So your comment is obviously privilege still exists, but you believe that a white citizen committing a crime will not face the same accountability as a black citizen committing the same crime.
Yeah, so you don't have. I mean, you have how long you been on TikTok or YouTube, my man? Because I've been on this shit for a long time.
About a year.
There's a lot of videos where black people are victimized. The police or the regular white citizen who's not a cop, they are the defendant, and they have yet to face charges, my man. There's so many of those situations.
Right.
Malcolm X was killed due to idiot black folks who created conspiracy with white people to get Malcolm X to get killed, my man.
Okay, well, we don't want to go back to Malcolm X. Well, listen, I gotta move it on, man.
I'm telling you, every time a black person trying to make progress, there's always an Uncle Tom Negro that's blocking that person from making that progress. And okay, you look at every community, right? A white comedian do not speak for white people. A white football player do not speak for white people.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Not really. You gotta. I gotta move it on. Go ahead and wrap it up. I'll give you the last one, but I gotta move it on, man.
Yeah. So we have to do better as a community. We cannot let LeBron James speak for us.
Okay.
We as black folks have to speak for ourselves.
All right.
You know what I'm saying?
I get it. All right. I gotta move it on, man. I do gotta move it on. Okay. Some of that I don't. Like I said, I always let a person state their point. I don't know if I was following some of what he's saying, because at the end of the day, what happened in Memphis, it's not a racial issue. So I don't want us to get into a position of trying to turn what happened in Memphis to be a racial issue. You're talking African-American police officers, an African-American victim, African-American supervisor. There's no racial issue at play in what took place in Memphis, Tennessee, unless someone wants to go to another hierarchy somewhere and suggest that it is. But I don't see the racial issue in that. The CIA wanted him deceased because he was a great, powerful leader, says Paula. In regards to Malcolm X, I would submit to you that they wanted all of the civil rights leaders unalived, as they say on TikTok. You think they're not? You think Ben Crump, the current civil rights leader right now in 2023, is not receiving death threats? They all get them. You know, and I say this all the time, and I'll go right back to the box, but because my program is MAGA friendly, and I talk to a lot of folks on the right, it's not uncommon for me to hear that Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson are racist. And my humble opinion is that's probably true to some degree. There is probably some racial aspects to Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton. But you got to look at the nature of what's going on. If we had a American soldier that did several tours in Iraq, say that they did not like Iraqis and had a racist view of them, everybody would understand it because they've been shot at by Iraqi soldiers and things like that for the 2 or 3 years they were over there. When you look at Jesse Jackson or Al Sharpton, how many death threats from white people you think those guys have had? How many lynchings and wrongful arrests have those guys attended? I mean, I'm not defending anybody that has a racial aspect in them, but if there is a person that is probably understandably racist, it would certainly be Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, because Jesse Jackson was standing next to Martin Luther King on the balcony with him when he got killed. Not defending being racist, but they have literally seen the absolute worst of white people. There is no one among the black community that can claim they've seen more white atrocities than someone like Jesse Jackson or Al Sharpton. They've been arrested wrongfully. They've been mistreated by cops. They probably both have received over 1 million death threats each. How would you act? You got folks that see Black Lives Matter on TV rioting and looting, and that's enough to dislike black people. These folks have been treated to the point where I would suggest they probably have racial PTSD. I mean, even to this day, they're probably both receiving death threats. Not to say they're not opportunists. Certainly Al Sharpton, he's an opportunist. He makes money off of, claiming racism and shit like that. But when you look at what the guy has been through, like I said with the Iraq war comparison, can you imagine somebody that was in the World Trade Center on 9/11 saying they do not like folks from the Middle East? You would understand that. You would totally understand that with what bin Laden perpetrated on this country. But you look at Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson and you expect them to be normal with all of the shit they've seen for how many generations they've been through it. Those folks just have to die off. That's the only way you're going to get that out of them. They have to die off. They have seen way too much. They have seen, like I said, the worst you could imagine from white people. Going back to the box, Cooper. Appreciate you folks holding on. There's a few of you folks in there, but Cooper. Good evening and welcome to the program. Our presidency is set up like a corporation. Shit, the whole damn country is set up that way, Paul. Isn't that what folks say? We need a businessman to run America. We need it ran like a business. Cooper, good evening. Cooper, are you with me? Yeah, loud and clear. Yeah, I can hear you, but you're going, I don't know if you got some kind of delay or something.
I believe that's what it is.
Are you on Bluetooth?
No, I'm just on the regular
Okay. Go ahead and state your point. I can hear you now.
I just want to say that, I'm the one that made the statement that these guys had to have known this guy, and it's kind of strange, that they took it that far because they probably had no idea they was going to have an overhead cam on them at the same time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But they're wearing body cams.
That type of move.
Yeah, but they're wearing body cams.
But there was only one appropriate body cam. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
One appropriate body cam. So what I'm trying to say is these guys, and they knew each other well because they hung together. That unit, that precinct, you know what I'm saying? They run that area all the time. They patrol that area all the time. when was the backup called? Who called the backup? When you just ride up and see somebody just jump out and go do what you do, they already knew this. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They knew this guy. Either he saw them do something or have seen them do something in the past, and they was trying to make an end to it, and they didn't want anybody else to know about anything. So probably that's what happened, because there was this unconstitutional for you to beat somebody down like that and just talk about it and brag about it, not knowing what's really going on from the other guys. And like I said, it's not more than 5. It was about 9 cops out there. Nobody didn't want to touch anything. Nobody didn't want to say anything.
Yeah, but based on
they knew these guys hung together.
Yeah, but based on what you're saying, you're basically saying that they tried to murder him. Like, if they have some information on him, like you said, if they knew him personally and they wanted to beat him down because he had something on him, then you're basically saying it's an intentional murder, because they're being charged with like murder too, or manslaughter or something. They're not being charged with the with premeditated. But if what you're saying is true, wouldn't that be premeditated murder?
That's exactly, because you don't do that. I mean, okay, we're cops. We're out there to serve the public. We're out there to serve the community. We have our families at home. This is our career.
Okay.
Why would we just up in our career on that particular cop?
Yeah.
If there's nothing else going on, then what I'm saying, why would we go to that extent to prove a point or to make a statement? To who? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right. I mean,
he had to lose his life because you wanted to make a statement to somebody else.
Yeah. Wow.
That's what I'm.
Well,
I've watched this. I've watched this video, and I haven't seen the overhead. But if you just step back from my perspective, as far as me used to be undercover, looking into this type stuff, you started seeing the demeanor of some of those guys and the hesitation from each EMT. Like, man, I mean, why ain't they moving as fast as they supposed to move? Why are they still standing around these cars and talking? This man should have been left to the hospital 30 minutes ago.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Watching them not do anything while he sat there for that long. Yeah, that probably was one of the hardest things to watch, is them letting this guy fall over and slump around, and they just, they did nothing. But listen, there's a delay. I'm unfortunately have to move it on because there's a delay, so we can't really talk as effectively as I'd like to, and I do appreciate you holding on, but I do got to move it on, and as always, you're welcome back anytime, man. Okay.
All right, man, take it easy. God bless.
You too. Thank you. Have a good evening. Okay, looking in the comments here. And by the way, folks, tap the screen. I haven't been asking you guys to do that very much. 20,000 would be nice. It's not as many, kind of an intimate evening. I do more of the lunch break shows, and there's usually about 3 to 4 times as many people in here. But tap the screen, get your boy up to 5,000 likes. You're saying the screen is backwards. I don't know why. If TikTok does that, I don't know if that helps it out at all or whatever, but when they take a person in custody, they are liable for everything that happens. David Brown, that is true. That is absolutely true, but sometimes they try to suggest that somehow you were fighting back or you did something else that resulted in them having the need to kick your ass. Militant Prince. Let me bring him on. Welcome to the program. I love the name, by the way. Militant Prince. Let's see where this goes. Good afternoon. I keep saying good afternoon. I'm used to my afternoon shows. Good evening, Militant Prince. Prince, are you there? Okay. Unfortunately, either he's not there, we don't have the connection. We'll keep it moving. Those were not EMTs, they were firefighters. Unapologetic black men. I don't know what the title of the people were, but I know that man sat there for way too long without getting served. Chances are in a city like Memphis, they could have had multiple ambulances on the scene. So I don't know where there's any excuse for that man to sit there slumping over and things like that without being addressed. Even if the police officers believed that he was high on something, which they stated he's high on something, you know, do you need to give him Narcan? Do you need to do something for him? They did nothing for that man for nearly a half hour. So, and I see in the comments, Unapologetic Black Man says the firefighters were also charged. I wonder what do you charge them with? Because if you show up to the scene and you don't do your duty, I didn't know that was a crime, but I mean, they certainly did not provide, they didn't render care to that guy. There's no denying that no care at all was given to that guy. Why would they charge a firefighter if they're not qualified? That's a no-no. I think even the police were qualified to medically do more for that man than they did. So it doesn't matter if that's an EMT, a firefighter, a paramedic, whatever. I think even the actual police officers have more medical knowledge than what they did to that guy. And like I said, at the very least, if you got to get a guy Narcan or verify his airways, they didn't do anything to a guy that's unconscious, slumping over back and forth. So I don't know what their medical specialties or their medical certifications are, but even a basic officer, even an officer knows basic, some of the basic issues with, you know, trying to stabilize a person. I mean, the guy's literally falling over and they're doing nothing for him. So there's no way to make it look good. And when you factor in how long he was sitting there, do you need to call for a secondary ambulance? Do you need to call for someone else? 30 minutes? There's no, I don't know how you can explain that. Mary Tag in the comments says it was retribution for him sleeping with a cop's ex-wife. You're not the only one that said that in the comments. Holy shit. Well, like I said before, if these individuals were connected to the deceased, that probably will come out. You know how it is when you got multiple defendants. They start breaking people down. I mean, you start throwing football numbers at folks in terms of time they're going to serve. You're usually able to get somebody to testify against somebody else. You know, somebody's sitting in jail right now like, well, shit, I never told him to kick dude in the head. Or he don't want to decide to pull out the baton and hit the motherfucker. I mean, so what they start doing is thinking like, how can I talk my way out of this? So chances are, if there is some validity to them knowing the deceased or one guy's wife being slept with or something like that, they're going to turn them against each other and that will come out. I mean, because everybody is at this point volleying for less time behind bars. They're going to be willing to talk and sing like a bird. Because like I said, shit, the public is looking to make an example out of these folks. Truth Talk 2.0. Let's do it. Truth Talk. Good evening.
Hey, good evening, brother. Thank you for pulling me on. I wanted to just say that, go back to what you said. How did you put it? I'm trying to think how you put it. You said that it wasn't racism. And I just wanted to revisit that.
Okay.
You know, I think that, you know, and I'm black, in my lifetime, you know, I have been discriminated against, you know, by my own people, whether it be based upon my looks, the way I speak, the way I dress. And I'm a barber by profession, so I deal with a lot of people. And, you know, and I do notice, you know, the different treatment. I don't think that we, as a people, are above being racist against one another or having an expectation of an interaction, you know.
Well, let me interact. Let me interject. In regards to your comments, you do not believe that blacks are above being racist to other blacks. Have you ever heard of the Doll, D-O-L-L? Have you ever heard of the Doll test?
Doll test?
Yeah.
Not
I'll elaborate on it. What the Doll test is. They've done this in, I think, the 60s, and they did it again in the 80s.
Talking about, yeah, the Doll test. Okay,
yeah.
Yes, I'm familiar.
Well, that kind of plays into what you're suggesting, that when you look at the kids in front of those dolls, where they put an African-American, a Hispanic, and a white doll in front of these kids, and even the black kids are picking the black doll and saying negative things about them. So no,
I'm going a different direction.
Well, no, but the reason I'm bringing that up is it shows that even with children from the African American community, they've already developed at those young ages a negative opinion of black people.
So no, so what I'm saying is that the hatred, which is discrimination or
Right.
ignorance, that we too can have that, and it can be inflicted upon anyone. A white person, a Chinese person, a black person, a woman, a trans person. We're people, man. Everybody. There's no infallible person who can't have prejudice in their heart. And life is a spiritual journey, man. This is good and evil. It's simple. What they did was an evil thing.
Yeah.
Good people don't do that. And it's like it's a pig's pussy pork. If the answer's yes, call it what it is.
I have never heard that before.
Yeah, so and if we can start passing the same judgment around on one another for our prejudices that we show, and we can put more energy into, it's real shit, man. I'm sick of all the sprinkled blame and this and that and this and that. Come on, man. We gotta what's wrong is wrong, and what's right is right.
Yeah, but okay, but in regards to your comment, what's wrong is wrong and what's right is right. Do you personally believe that we're giving this less play because the officers and the victims are all black? I don't know. Did you have a?
I'm sorry. I don't know how this has affected you emotionally, right? I don't know what you feel in your heart after viewing that video, my brother.
Yeah, but that the question I'm at. Let me ask you: do you think that you would have viewed this differently if it was 5 white dudes beating the hell out of this guy?
Well, see, you know what? I wouldn't, because I'm sitting there watching another human being just be tortured, man. Treated like you won't even see a dog done like that. You know?
Yeah. It was bad. I'm not here to pretend like it's not bad, but I'm only asking that question because I got a lot of my viewers from the right side of the aisle asking, well, why isn't Black Lives Matter out there going nuts because this guy's black? And they're indicating that the view of this stuff has been reduced.
Black Lives Matter ain't that, that's, you go to the rallies and it's 90% white college kids, man. I'm not, we're way past that. We're way past that. Do all lives matter, man. They do. All life matters to somebody.
Yeah, but you do realize all lives matter was created as a counter to Black Lives Matter.
I'm not talking about the slogan though, brother. We speaking English to one another. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, but why is that slogan? But why is that slogan? Why are they even saying that?
Because it's I don't know. I'm just
Wait. Are you so you're telling me that you got millions of people in the country saying Black Lives Matter, and you do not even know why they're saying it?
You know what? I know why they're saying it. I know why they're saying
That's
it.
what I want an answer to. Why are they saying it?
Why are they saying it? Because they don't believe that they matter to society.
Are they right or wrong? In your opinion, are they right or wrong with that statement?
They don't matter to themselves.
Elaborate.
We don't matter to ourselves. We don't matter to ourselves. What are we doing to ourselves?
Okay.
Come on, man. We can spend all the time. You marching? Are you in shape yet, motherfucker? Let's do some work.
Okay, but I'm asking you the question. I get your point that blacks do not treat themselves as if they matter, but in regards to what they're complaining about, do you think that they also do not matter to outsiders as well?
Absolutely. But ain't the rule like you can't love nobody else unless you love yourself. You gotta love one another, man. We're spending too much energy, man. Energy spent in directions that ain't really taking us nowhere. You know, we still don't have another. There's still not another black metropolis here in the United States. We was here before Columbus. What are we doing?
Okay.
What are we doing? Why? What are we begging for?
So when they, but let me present it to you this way. It's not uncommon to hear folks who support or favor Black Lives Matter also saying white privilege is a real thing in America. Do you believe white privilege is real in this country?
Sure.
Okay. I'm just.
You know what? You know what I believe? You know what I believe too? I believe nepotism can cross color barriers.
Yeah.
I believe that anytime I try to navigate throughout society, I've always gotten to wherever I wanted to get to. But it was God that got me there.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Do you believe, because like I said, Black Lives Matter often states that the police treat blacks differently from a more negative aspect than whites. Do you believe that's happening in this country in 2023?
Some police officers, absolutely. You know why? Because you take prejudice with you. There's prejudice doctors, there's prejudice teachers, there's prejudice judges, prejudice librarians. Okay? You take it with you. You take it with you. So my question is, you know, these bad cops, are they still bad people when they take that uniform off? Were they bad people before they put that uniform on?
Okay.
You know? I'm just on that level, man. It's good. It's just simple. It's good and evil. If I continue to entertain the idea that I am somehow lesser than any man, then I'm doing myself an injustice.
Okay. So you're saying that if African Americans in this country feel like they are lesser than, say, whites, they're doing themselves an injustice.
Yes.
Okay. But is it based on reality?
I'm saying, like, even on the planet, man, we you know, there's people of darker hue are indigenous to all 7 continents, brother.
Yeah, but we're talking here, though. I mean, I get what you're saying. But let's keep it in the United States.
In what way am I oppressed? In what way are you oppressed?
Okay, let's tackle that. In regards to
tell me, brother.
Let's tackle that. In regards to in what way are you oppressed? There are plenty of folks that would suggest that if you commit a crime, you will face a harsher punishment than someone white committing the same crime. Do you see validity to that?
Well, not in my experience.
Okay, but do you believe that happens at all in this country?
Do I believe that a judge can be prejudiced and from a bench? Absolutely.
Okay.
But
What?
That's that individual judge.
Okay. Joby in the comments, a friend of the program, said job pay. What do you think about that? That in terms of employment for the same job, an African American can be paid less.
I'm self-employed. I've never had a problem doing the job.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Hold on. You're talking about you specifically. I'm talking about overall amongst the races, not one guy.
Well, don't you believe in free enterprise?
Yeah, but that doesn't answer the question.
Okay, so you asked me for me. Do I believe that I am oppressed? No, I'm not. I've gotten any job that I've ever gone to an interview to. I've gotten the job.
Okay, so let me get your honest opinion. You can tell me however you feel, as I always invite folks to. When you look at the penal institution in this country, percentage-wise, there's no denying there's far more blacks incarcerated than whites. Why do you personally believe that is?
Well, I think that it probably goes back to those prejudices of those individuals a lot of times, and lifestyle. You know, socioeconomic situations. It's not a simple answer, and I've been in and out of jail. I've lived on both sides of the tracks, man.
Okay.
And I know, man. I'm the only one that can hold me back, man.
Okay.
Real rap.
Right.
And I think that we need to like, for real, just understand how powerful we are, and stop entertaining that we are lesser than, because we're not.
All right. Fair enough. Appreciate you coming through, Truth.
Man,
Hey.
Thank you for your time, brother. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. You always are welcome back. Looking in the comments, the socioeconomic situations were brought about due to racist laws and regulations. David Brown, 6821. I don't think many folks make the connection, but I posted a video on my TikTok page, and there was a white guy that was pointing to that. You know, well, why are there more blacks than whites in jail? Well, the guy said, well, blacks commit more crimes. And he asked him, well, why are they committing more crimes? And he kept asking him why. And if you keep asking why to those questions, you will end up having to admit things in the past is a reason why this stuff is happening. But I understand a lot of folks want to view the current 2023 that we live in as completely separated from what happened in the past. Listen, I can't control how folks view, but there's no denying. It doesn't matter what subject we're talking about, whether we completely exclude racism or whatever the hell you want to talk about. Almost everything we do today is tied somehow to something that took place in the past. I mean, even if you look at the fact you drive your car on the right side of the street versus the left, it's rooted in the past. So I don't understand why folks look at African Americans and their situation in this country and say, has absolutely nothing to do with your past. You got folks that are 4th, 5th, 6th generation Americans in this country that go out and enjoy themselves on St. Patrick's Day because their family is Irish. I don't know why, when it comes to African Americans, do folks keep saying that your past means nothing. Everybody else honors their past. I mean, hell, even folks that are in the South flying Confederate statues are doing it because of Southern pride and heritage, right? Why does the African American past become so irrelevant? Maybe I'm getting it wrong. Anyhow, folks, unfortunately, I do have to terminate the live. It is dinner time. You know, your boy's getting hungry. So I wanted to do an impromptu live because we have now seen the video. Will this spark change in this country? As many callers have suggested, we'll probably go right back into what we normally do in our daily lives, and probably will sweep this one up amongst the annals of history, just like all of the other cases of police brutality. To some degree, for my callers who have asked, and my folks in the comments who have asked, well, why isn't Black Lives Matter protesting right now? I would submit to you that probably is a negative, because Black Lives Matter does get things done. We don't like the protesting, we don't like the rioting and looting, but that does get shit done, because now all of a sudden the mayor of a town, or even sometimes the governor, is pressured to do something. You got thousands of people all pissed off at the same time. You cannot ignore them. So the fact that Black Lives Matter is not really protesting from a strong standpoint in regards to this probably means this case is going to get a lot less accomplished than, say, George Floyd. George Floyd led all the way up to the president trying to pass legislation to reform the police. So it definitely made some differences, because the protests for George Floyd were outrageously destructive, whereas there's really nothing happened here. So these cops will probably get charged and life will move on. I mean, it's not going to be, I don't think history is going to view what happened in Memphis anywhere near as much as we're going to remember George Floyd's case. George Floyd case, whether you agree or disagree with what happened in terms of protests, rioting, and looting, it did result in shit getting done. It absolutely resulted in shit getting done. So we'll see what goes on, but as always, I appreciate you folks rolling with your boy. You could be anywhere you want on social media, and the fact that you're here with me, it's always an honor. 22,000 likes. We didn't really push as much, but I appreciate you coming through. Anyhow, I'll catch you guys on the next live stream. For you folks on YouTube, I just ended the TikTok live stream. I do appreciate you folks tuning in. Now, this is my ride-sharing audience, and I do know, you guys let me know in the comments. Let me see if I can bring up my YouTube page. So I would like to see how some of you folks are commenting here. I'm only talking to YouTube right now. The TikTok program has been terminated, but because I like to know some of you folks on the YouTube side, you don't want to see all this political shit. And I get it. You know, we only hear ride sharing and things like that. And I have started using YouTube as a place to archive my programs, because if I'm doing a live stream for, you know, an hour to 3 hours, it takes up a hell of a lot of memory. And I can't put all of that on my phone, and I'd be buying memory cards all over the damn place. But YouTube allows me to archive them indefinitely because they got a ridiculous amount of server space. So that's why they're here, but I am getting people like, I don't want to hear the politics and all of that. I see Veronica 777 is saying I prefer the political convos. Appreciate that, Veronica. And that's what I'm trying to find out is, you know, because like I've seen some of my archived political videos I've posted over here, and then you see all of a sudden your subscription drops by a person or two. I've also heard people say, well, I don't like the red hat, because, you know, when I'm doing my lunch break lives in the background, I have the MAGA hat up. Not that I'm a Trump supporter by any means at all, but it is to let folks on that side of the aisle know that they're always welcome on the program. And in fact, they are preferred guests because they have an opposing viewpoint. And we try to keep it, you know, civilized and maintain healthy conversation. But I am starting to get some pushback from some of my ride-sharing audience about the political conversations. Looking in the comments real quick on YouTube, I think most of you folks may not be here. I don't know or not, but I'm a political junkie, so I'm good, says William Irazo. Okay. Hopefully I'm not butchering the name, but appreciate that. So William, yeah, anytime. And by the way, for any of you folks if you do have TikTok, it's a Chinese app. I know some of you folks don't like the app, but if you do get a chance, you know, tune in on that side. The goal is to one day do this on YouTube exclusively, because there is so much banning, blocking, and censoring on TikTok that I'd rather take it to another location. And also on YouTube, I get a wider screen here. As you can see, even on, you know, the stuff here on my right side is not even, you know, I don't have anything on the wall behind me, because the TikTok, everything is done in portrait mode. So it's just a straight up and down shot, which is why you notice everything on the wall behind me is meant for that. Like it's the bookcase you're seeing here and all of this stuff is not even in the shot. So I like YouTube because I can get a bigger illustration. Kind of be like the rideshare guy. You know, he has a big, huge TV. Because on the other side of me that you can't see, there's a 70-inch television. I would have that behind me. Try Rumble. They don't block you. Yeah, but is there enough viewers on Rumble? John Gregory, I see that in the comments. You're saying try Rumble. I've heard about the Rumble social media page, but is there enough of an audience? I mean, my TikTok audience, it gets well up over 1,000 people when I do my live streams during the middle of the day. And for you folks who are new to seeing me do the live streams actually live, 11:30 a.m. Central Time is what I'm on. So between 11:30 and 1, if you go on TikTok, the Handsome Liberal, same name is here on YouTube. The Handsome Liberal on TikTok is when you'll see those lives, and also you can interact. You know, I do try to respond to as many, correspondence in the comments as I can and shit like that. But it's generally a very busy program. There's a hell of a lot of people who comment. And unfortunately, when I archive the shows, you don't get to see the comments. So any of you who have watched some of my archive shows on YouTube, you only see me talking and you hear the callers. Occasionally you will see one of the callers if they allow their video to be seen. But there's a hell of a lot of comments and things flying by that you don't get to see on the archive shows, and you don't get to see the sheer number of people that are tuning in. So I don't know why TikTok doesn't show that. I'd like to have it up there, but I just wanted to do a live stream this time so I could find out from you guys, the few of you in here, how you felt about the politics. Because I appreciate my ride-sharing audience. In fact, folks, I do have another video coming out about some shit that came out of New York, and I will be editing that tonight. I generally post my videos in the evening. Looking in the comments, I live in Lexington, Kentucky. How loud can you get over there? I live in Lexington, Kentucky. I used to do Uber and Lyft. Lyft offers me $5 ride for $55. Guarantee I stop driving for nothing. I have. Wait a minute. Let me reread that, John. Lexington, Kentucky. I'm quite familiar with it. Used to do Uber and Lyft. Lyft offers me 5 rides for $55. That ain't what is that? Shit. If you only do 5, that's $11. That's actually pretty damn good. That's an additional $11. Oh, wait a minute. No, you say it's an offers guarantee. Okay, I get it now. So if you do 5 rides, you're guaranteed to make $55. Well, I still would jump on that. In my market, for instance, the average pay it's well under $10. I mean, what is the lowest pay per ride? Like $2.50 I would suggest I would take the 5 rides. I would make sure all of my rides were them short ass rides, hang around the club where somebody's only going a mile or 2, that type of shit. If you do 5 rides that are only a mile or 2 long, you don't put a lot of wear and tear on your car. And you're going to get an earnings guarantee of $55. So you could, like in the comment, William Mirasro said, exactly that. Short rides, $3 each, $3 each. I would be all over that. Let me do this. Since we're talking about ride sharing, I don't mind engaging this. I'm going to stop this show because this is obviously a political show, and I'll come right back on. So give me a minute. I'll stop it and start it again, and we'll talk.